All right, everyone, we're going to jump right into this one. The topic is going to be It's Not My Job, or That Is Not My Job. And this phenomenon is something that I think pretty much everyone who's worked has experienced. Um, it's a situation where you sign up to work at a place and the scope of your duties drastically changes. So if you are a bartender, now you're cleaning toilets. If you are an accountant, now in you're in the warehouse working a forklift. Things that are not even tangential to your work. And I mean, to an extent, even things that are tangential to your work, but really should be handled by someone else. I think that you understand what I'm talking about. So back in the day when I used to hear people say, that's not my job. I don't do that. It's not part of my job duties. I used to think that was something that disloyal people said, people who were lazy. But I thought about it, and there are situations in my life where the idea of that's not my job actually applied. For starters, I have about 13 years of post-college experience, and uh, one of my first jobs out of college, which had nothing to do with what I was studying, had what was at let's say it was a rental car company. And I was working at this rental car company for, say, about 6 or 7 months before they decided, hey, you know what? This guy is kind of stable. He shows up, he does his job, and he doesn't piss people off. So let's just give him a small branch out in the middle of nowhere and give him no support. And that's a lot of people who are working in rental car companies from, I want to say, 2009 to probably 2013 can relate to this. The millennials that were just starting off in the work experience, a lot of these individuals had to go to rental car companies because those are the companies that were hiring straight out of college without any experience, and that was literally the first thing everyone was looking for after 2008 because that's what was available. So this duty, this job, entailed wearing a suit and tie every day to work. No lie, and they were very particular about what type of shirt they wanted. Basically, white t-shirts, long sleeve. You might be able to get away with blue, maybe gold, but they were really particular. They didn't like wild colors, like anything outside of white, black, gold, and blue. Nothing outside of that, and no stripes, no weird patterns. It kind of makes sense. It's customer facing, but you're in a tie. I mean, you're wearing a suit, tie, and you're tucking it all in. You're looking like a banker, but you're washing cars. You're picking customers up. You're writing the rental agreements, which there's a lot of disclaimers in those. We have to understand what all the disclaimers are. We have to communicate those correctly. Whenever we're selling the various add-ons, like, well, we can't call it rental car insurance, but we call it a damage waiver. You have to know how to sell these things, how to pitch it legally, because you can't call it insurance because we're not legally insured. So on top of that, you're answering the phones. If you're the only one, which a lot of times in these small branches you are the only one, you're picking up customers and you're forwarding calls from the office to your cell phone. So washing a car while answering the phone, driving to pick up customers, all on your own. No other staff, no part-timers, nothing to help you, and you're doing it in a suit and tie from 7:30 in the morning to 6, maybe 6:30, depending on your boss, how late he wants to keep the branch open, and whether or not you have people who are returning cars or need a ride back home. So it could be 6, maybe 7, 8 o'clock at night before you go home. And there was a whole lot of it's not my job going on in that sort of industry, but I mean, the times were tough. No one else was really hiring. It was a steady pay with benefits, and hey, you got to at least look like a banker, even though you were running around like a butler. So that's one experience. Another one. This was when I was in, I would say my third actual career job. I'm in finance, so that's about as particular as I want to get. So I was working on a team, a pretty big sized team. I think they actually overhired at a publicly traded company, the finance team, and I was a new hire, so obviously it takes time to get onboarded and get up to speed. I got hired close to the month end, and just like any finance team, whether it's FP&A or accounting or tax, you're busy certain periods of the month. This particular team was busy every month end. So one of the things that kind of annoyed me was when I was a new hire, they the first month end I was given the duty of making the food order, which I understood. The way it was pitched to me was, hey, you know what, you're new. We need to order our lunch and dinner, so do you mind just looking around for a local pizza joint and see if you can get someone to deliver to us, and here's the corporate card, and just be reasonable with what you think. So it was about 10 of us. I decided to order, I think it was, I don't know, 4 or 5 boxes, so quite a few slices of pizza. Purposely wanted to order just a little bit more because hey, so what's the worst thing? We had our own like dedicated kitchen nearby, so we could just put our extra food into the kitchen, into the fridge. So it's not the worst thing in the world. You don't want to order like not enough. So I ordered about 4 or 5 boxes and a couple 2 liters, and I mean, this is not exactly high level. This is not a high level task. It's probably something anyone in high school could have actually fulfilled, but they were so happy with that they basically never stopped giving me that task. So the second month then came by, and we were really slammed for time, and a lot of that was due to other teams in the company not giving us information on time. So we were behind. We needed to make a food order. They didn't have time to show me some of the other items during month end that I'll be working on. So they're like, hey, is it okay if you make the food order again this month? I know we said that this was going to be a rotating task, but can you take care of it this month, please? So did it for the second month in a row, and then it just became my job. And it was probably about 20% of the reason why I decided to leave that place. Another item that was outside of my job scope was, so we had these adjustments that we were making in the ERP on top of what accounting was making. It happened to be a lot of them. We're talking about maybe 1 to 200 journal entries during month end, and our process would be that we would print out, like the junior team members would print out the adjustments, then the seniors would review them on paper, sign off, and then post them in the ERP. So we have backup and proof of review, an audit trail, and it's all in hard copy, and then the actual adjustments are done online in the ERP. So we would staple them. No, we would. How would we do this? Yeah. So was that it? Would we? Yeah, we would staple them. So yeah, that's right. We would staple them and put them in a pile. The whole team would, and then I want to say every night, the manager of the team would go through all of the adjustments, put his sign off on top of any senior team members that would have done the initial sign off and review, and that would be consolidated into just one big stack of papers that have a bunch of staples in them. And once we're done closing the books for the month, someone or some individuals would go through every single adjustment. So let's say the adjustment was one page with 4 supporting pages. You would have like a little 5-page packet with staples in them. We would remove the staples and then attach a binder clip on them and throw them into the sort of permanent banker's box for that month. So the first month, of course, that was my job. Literally taking, this sort of packet of papers, removing staples, attaching binder clips. Oh, I forgot about one other step. So I would remove the staples and then I would scan those pages into the I guess multifunction printer, and basically send the PDF copy to my computer, and then save that in another folder. So we have physical copies, and then we have copies made through the actual printer. So we have PDF copies made from the printer, and then we have physical copies if the PDFs get lost. So that's how you keep an audit trail. That's how you keep redundancy of information. Not a bad system, but it's kind of time consuming if one person's doing all that. So the day after we would close our books, that would be what I'm doing. Just removing staples from papers, scanning them in, and putting them in bankers' boxes. Then when I'm done scanning everything in, I have a stack of, I have just a whole bunch of staples, so I'm throwing them away and going through just hundreds of binder clips every single month. Once I'm done with all that, I go back to my desk, go back to my computer, and go through all the files that were emailed to me from the printer, and then I have to label them accordingly based on what the entry number was and for what entity, and then I would have to save those into a folder. So this is really admin level work. It's really something you'd want to give to an intern, but they were paying me. They were paying someone. This was in my field of study, and this was the field that I was going to be working in for the rest of my life. Now this was a staff level position, so to some extent you don't give your seniors this, you don't give your managers this, you give the people lowest on the totem pole. But it was the only place where that sort of happened. Nowhere else was this something that just was given to one person. So I want to say about after 10 or 11 months of that, a far better job paying way more with better benefits and in the tech industry came up, and I took it, and ever since then, I haven't been stuck with any admin level crap or things that are sort of what I would say not my job, except every now and then. But for the most part, the pay is good, so even if something is not technically my job, it's not something that I'm going to really cause a gripe over, because I'm fortunate enough to be in a situation where the pay is good, the benefits are good, and everything else about the work is fantastic. Of course, it's been in a few different companies over time, and now I'm at a sort of supervisory level, and of course, at a supervisory level, you're not doing any of the admin crap. You have people on your team to do that. But after going through that, I realized that I'm not going to have my people do unnecessary admin stuff, or I'm not going to have one person do all of it. I'm going to try and have those type of tasks rotate around, because it builds resentment. That's really the topic of this. The whole idea of that's not my job has really to come from a place of resentment. And it's fair for people to feel this way in certain circumstances. It's not fair all the time, but it is fair in certain times. So I gave you a few examples of how that affected me and how I experienced that. One experience that I witnessed today, I went to Buffalo Wild Wings, and this is gonna sound petty, but just bear with me on this one. I walked in, and this is a location I go to quite a bit. I want to say probably two times a month at least. So quite a few of the people know me there, and I go to the bar. I just eat at the bar. All the TVs are there. It's probably the best place in the entire place to sit, because you have your waiter is really technically the bartender, and they're right there. You don't have to look around for them. They're not leaving, or at least I thought. So I walked in. It was one of the regular guys who's been there for a while. He asked me what I wanted to drink, but he also told me that, hey, I'm not going to be your bartender. I'm actually about to clock out in a little bit. I just wanted to get you something to drink so you're not, sitting here waiting thirsty. Pretty cool. I appreciated that. The bartender that was coming in to relieve him came in, and I think she was probably a little bit late because her manager was there, and this guy wasn't really too happy to see her. So I'm not really sure what was going on between the three of them. I just wanted to order, and I waited like 15-20 minutes. No one asked me if I wanted to get anything. So luckily, Buffalo Wild Wings has this thing where you can scan and order your food, pay for it right there from your phone. I did that, and probably I want to say another 15 minutes went by. Someone else came and sat like 3 chairs down from me, and the new bartender came by, went directly to them, started serving them, and giving them the spiel of the specials and the menu page. And I'm sitting there like, damn, man, she just ignored me. Turns out that I think the previous bartender probably didn't communicate to her that, hey, this guy is going to be yours. Maybe something got lost in translation. I don't know. The main point is, what I did notice is that there weren't too many waiters and waitresses walking around. And the bartenders were actually tending bar, and also the 12 tables behind the bar. So between the bar and the regular restaurant seating, there's also like 12 like high top tables. And I guess at this place, or maybe on this day, the bartenders were also waiting tables. So that's something that's understandable. I mean, I didn't get upset at first, because it usually before I feel like letting my anger out, I kind of want to wait and observe. Maybe there's something I'm missing at this, and that's exactly what it was. So while the bartenders are there to serve the patrons at the bar, is it really within their scope of duties to have to wait tables as well? I mean, you can tell where that can be something that's really not part of their job. And if they're doing it because they're short-staffed at the bar, or short-staffed at the restaurant, or someone just didn't show up, or a few people didn't show up, oh wow, the food industry with unreliable workers. Who would have thought? It happens. And you can see why so many people in the food industry fucking hate their jobs. They get tired of it because the co-workers, and I think that's really what it is. Probably a larger critique on work in America is really extending to co-workers. When you have crappy co-workers, it really sucks. Like, for the most part, we're not guaranteed good bosses. Good bosses are hard to find. Good management will always be in demand, and good management will find a place that will take advantage of their skills and reward them well. They will always jump, but bad management will stick around. Bad management is the type of management that will throw employees under the bus and load you up with a bunch of "that's not my job" type of work. And it's the first time I've ever seen a bartender go out there to tables, clean, like, sweep floors. It was the most bizarre thing. It's like, this person is supposed to be working at the bar. There's liquor back here. I mean, this is a huge profit center for the restaurant. You have them cleaning tables. Like, it just was bizarre. So I'm glad I didn't flip out on anyone. I'm glad that I was able to make my food order using my phone. Um, it was very interesting. But I mean, that's a situation where someone who's doing something that's not really part of their job stretches them out so much that they don't really do what is part of their job. So if it wasn't for the phone ordering, I would have probably waited a half hour to maybe 40 minutes before my food order was even taken. I would have probably walked out by then. And I have walked out of that location before because somebody wasn't doing their job. Bartender was just not around. It wasn't something I felt like investigating because there's plenty of places to go eat. It's not on me to go investigate what their restaurant inefficiencies are. It happens. But it's a grander critique over life and work in America. How far does being a team player bleed into sort of being a sponge for management mismanaging the workplace? And employers like to throw around the whole teamwork to be a team player thing, and it's really more along the lines of help management cover their own asses because they don't know how to manage, they don't know how to forecast demand for what they're going to need, for employees, and or just basically cutting headcount and squeezing people into doing more and more work. And that's exactly why you're going to see people quit and places have high turnover. I mean, the turnover has been crazy at a lot of places for decades. And I mean, you think about it. The boomers with a bachelor's degree, we can call those people homeowners with pensions. And then you have the Gen X with bachelor's degrees, and we can call them homeowners without pensions. And what do you call a millennial with a bachelor's degree? Well, 50% of them, you can call them homeowners with student loan debt. The other 50% of them, you can call them non-homeowners with student debt. And you know what? Guess what? They're full-time baristas. Or, they're working some other job where it has nothing to do with their college degree, or they're not getting paid nearly enough. What do you call a Gen Y with a bachelor's degree? You call them an Uber Eats driver or a DoorDasher. Plus, they're a part-time barista, and they have a crap load of student loan debt, and they're never going to buy a house. So that's the reality of work in America, and why there's probably some sort of great revolt happening as we speak. The traditional corporate life is not for a lot of the younger folks. I take it back to the movie Office Space, which was way ahead of its time, super ahead of its time, because that level of revolt against corporate America and the corporate lifestyle, really started coming into play right around COVID. What do you think happened? They basically told quite a few people, well, your job isn't, quote, what was that job? What was that title called? It isn't a necessary job. It's essential. Yeah, that's right. You're not essential, but the people working at McDonald's are essential. People stocking shelves at Walmart are essential. So what wasn't essential at that point? Like, I don't understand. If fry cooks are essential, then who was non-essential? But you told people they weren't essential. A lot of places laid off workers. It was a good way for a lot of companies to just get rid of dead weight, because that's exactly what my company at the time did. My company at the time was letting us know that there's a possibility quite a few of us would be having like temporary layoffs, or maybe cut in pay or whatever. I was sort of looking forward to the temporary layoff, to be honest. I was going to take the time to, I had the perfect excuse to not like spend a whole bunch on eating. Just eat light, eat healthy, and work out with no is basically getting not getting paid to, well, sorry, it was basically a unpaid vacation, and you still had your job at the end of it. So I was looking forward to it, but what they ended up doing was they ended up just trimming. They ended up trimming headcount instead and getting rid of a lot of dead weight. And then basically my team, my team had the privilege and the luck. It was definitely very fortunate that my team was able to continue working, and they're working from home. No cut in pay for anyone that I know of. We were very lucky. We were very fortunate. So when you do that for a couple years, you pay people not to work, or people are making more not working with the unemployment benefit and the stimulus than they were in their regular jobs, then you wonder why some people say, that's not my job.